Welcome back to the Football Terrace. Good afternoon to each and every single one of you. Smash the like button right now. Make sure you subscribe and click on the bell notification button that's right next to it. Get that done right now. Morning. Hope you're all doing very well indeed. Oh, and I always know when KJ's been the last person to stream via our stream mail because he leaves the names up on the screen there. I always know when KJ's been in here last. It's like KJ always reminds me of that. You know that guy, you ever had a housemate who finishes the milk but leaves the empty carton in there? I think that's KJ. 110%. Morning. How are we all? I love seeing your first few comments that come through. It's James here, says Dortmund have lowered the price to 80 million, haven't they? We're going to delve into the Jadon Sancho news. It's really interesting when you research it. Man United have publicly distanced themselves from the deal. But big reports coming out of Germany in the last 24 hours have suggested that Man United and Dortmund are almost 90% done in relation to getting this deal over the line. We're going to go back through some of the backstory to look at where things are. But pose the question, were Man United right to bulk at the asking price last summer? I remember getting into lots of debates with lots of fans throughout the course of the summer transfer window, which wasn't really the summer. It was kind of July. Well, it was started in the summer in July, right through to October, where they said Man United have made the mistake in not paying the asking price. And if we remember correctly, the asking price at the time was 108 million pounds. 108 million pounds, and Manchester United refused to look at it. Actually, we have a graphic here, as you can see. Look, Man United transfer boost as Dortmund cut 20 million pound off of their asking price. But if we go back, it says the deal in the summer, which you can see here in the middle piece, where the deal collapsed because Man United and Oli refused to meet the 108 million pound asking price. There are now multiple reports, some suggesting it's gone down to as low as even 80 million pounds to get this deal done and to get this deal over the line. So the question has to be posed: did Manchester United make the right decision last summer? You could argue from a football point, no, I don't care about the money. Get me the player in. Sancho would have elevated us further this season than we've already. There's been large improvements at Man United this year. Only a fool would deny that, but you certainly can see that Jadon Sancho would bring far more balance. The majority of our attacks will come down our left-hand side. We have very little going on the right, as an example. From a financial standpoint, Man United stand currently to save between 20 and 30 million pounds in this deal being delayed. And 20 to 30 million pounds in this climate at these times in football is a colossal amount of money. A colossal amount of money. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. And if you think about the fact that Man United net lose somewhere in the region of £500,000 per home game. So it's about £2 million of income. But remember, there's a lot of expenses that you have to, a lot of outgoings on match days as well. It's about £500,000 net gross of sort of net profit that Man United bring in per home game. You can save, say, 25 million pound on this major deal. That's a lot of that money recouped. It really, really is. The devil's advocate here says, if you think for a second I'm going to be dragged into another Jadon Sancho saga, you're absolutely damn right. And people need to. Do you know what? For me, this saga, forget the player for a moment. This Jadon Sancho saga should be the eye-opening lesson to how football business is done. And although as fans, pay what's ever needed, in reality, you can't ever do that. When you take your fan hat off and you think about it from a business point of view, if you even think about it from a footballing angle, you can't just keep bowing down and paying what clubs expect you to pay. Man United looks set to win this battle as it stands. In my view, Jadon Sancho still wants to join Manchester United. Man United still want Jadon Sancho. Dortmund are going to lower the price to a point, maybe even below that United bid last year. So not only are we not going to pay the 108, it was 115 and 108 million pound asking price, we may end up getting the player for cheaper than we originally bid. And that's something as football fans, I get, no one wants a certificate, nobody wants a trophy for that. but it demonstrates amazing business. Do me that favor, everyone. Keep smashing that like button for us. Man like Coaster here. This is Aaron, by the way. He says, hi, Terry. Hope you are well. Can't wait to share my thoughts on this when the link appears, mate. Rovers till I die. Absolutely. Terry, Sancho isn't going to United. You're a Europa League team. Right now, we're a Europa League team. There's no doubt about it. But Manchester United are not going to remain. A Europa League team. We're going to finish in the top 4 this year. I'm pretty certain of that. We did it last year. We've improved. We're scoring more goals. We're winning more games. The win percentage is much higher this year on average compared to last season. So, yeah, very, very happy with that. Very, very happy with that. Every day, same here. That comment made me laugh. Where's it gone? He said left-hand attack FC. And that's what Man United have become. You only have to go. If you literally look, I'm going to do it now, actually. I'm going to do it now. I'm going to get it up on the screen so everybody can see this too. I'm going to go on to Who Scored. Who Scored, a really good website for doing this. And I'm just going to click on Man United. I'm going to go to the fixtures. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here so you can all see this. That's a little bit too much, Terry. I'm looking at a different screen here. So I'm going to open up the match reports, okay, for the last 4 games where we scored goals, okay? What side of the pitch do you think the majority of chances created have come from? And we can see the way it balanced. Now, if I could end up looking like a mug here, I could end up getting this so wrong if what I think doesn't end up happening, right? I'm going to stop sharing one screen and I'm going to share another. I haven't done the research on this, but I almost guarantee that the majority of it has come from that left-hand side. So we put that up on the screen now. Maguire got man of the match against West Ham, you know. So if we go to passing successions and go to key passes, look at that. It's left-hand side, right? That's where the majority of our creativity came from when we're against West Ham, right? I'm going to now go to the Everton 3-3 game. I haven't checked this yet, so I'm going to go onto this one again. Let's click on pass completion, chances created. Oh, look. Could it be magic now? Right, let me now share a different screen. The only issue I have with StreamYard, you can't switch between shared screens. Look at the Everton game. All the attacks coming down the left-hand side. All the attacks coming down the left-hand side. We're gonna go to the next game, which was the 9. I mean, the 9-0. You would think that's going to be far more balanced, isn't it? You know, we scored 9 goals. That is pretty balanced. Actually, it's not really. You can see still the weight in difference. Let's go. I can't wait to get this. Just stop sharing this and let's share this one. Look at this one. Even when we won 9-0, the balance is a madness, bruv. Look at this. You can see we did create chances from this side here, as you can see with the arrow. However, look at the still outweighed on that left-hand side, no doubt about it. And if we go to the Sheffield United game that we ended up losing, where was the vast majority of our chances created from? Okay, that was a little bit more even in that game, to be fair. But without doing any real research into it, you can almost see straight away all our attacks come down that left-hand side. Jadon Sancho is key. That's why the saga is going to be here. That's why Manchester United want him, because there are very few options out there where you're going to get better than Jadon Sancho and someone that knows the English game. It's as simple and as straightforward as that for me. There's just no denying it. Man like Josh here back again says, morning, my bro. It is fair to say Dortmund were a bit greedy considering their business model. Yeah, I think they were greedy. But on top of that, there was an element of arrogance there. Man United have been notoriously bad at doing business for a long time now in the Premier League. There's no in the Premier League era under Woodward and without Fergie and David Gill being there. There's no doubt Man United's business has been absolutely tin pot. But it has become better. The way the Terrace deal was negotiated, as an example, even trying to reduce it. We got £5 million off of that deal. I think as fans, we always say it's not my money, I don't care. But take that logic to its nth degree. If you don't care about the club's money, if one summer we signed 4 players and on average we wasted 10%, we paid 10% more just in transfer fees than we should, that might equate to £20 million. Your logic states, not yours, Josh, by the way, fans that don't care about the money, your logic states that you'd be happy for the club to take £20 million, walk into the car park and set it on fire because you don't care about the money. you should want it to be saved, because if every summer, through salaries, agent fees, and transfer fees, the club could save itself £20 million, whether that's in instant cash payouts or over the length of time of those contracts, that's £20 million a year saved. Over a 5-year period, that's £100 million. That could be the difference between signing the next up-and-coming superstar or not. It truly, truly could be. So for me, this is a deal that United should be focusing on. This is a deal that Man United need to be putting every ounce of energy into getting done. Man United are far too weighted on that left-hand side. Far too weighted on that left-hand side. They have far too much going on over there, and they need to create more balance. Jadon Sancho, I mean, a lot of people keep telling me he's having a bad season. He is still one of the leading creators in European football. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. Absolutely none. I mean, even when you look at this, I want to share with you another screen here. This is Man United's positional statistics so far this season, and this is Premier League based only, I believe. But let me just put this up for you as well so you can see. 43% of our attacks come down the left-hand side, 31 on the right. That needs to change dramatically. And it doesn't mean, it will mean we see less on the left-hand side. We need far more on the right. So what we need to do is we need to increase that right-hand side by 5, 6, 7% and then make it more successful. We need to get teams guessing more. The problem is with Manchester United, I can zoom that in a little bit more actually, so it fits the screen better. There we go. Manchester United need to be far more difficult for their opponents to break down. Sorry, it needs to be far more difficult for our opponents to defend against. We are quite predictable because we know where the vast majority of play is going to go. We know that. They stifle out. It's very simple what teams do to us now. They stifle out the middle because Bruno Fernandes and Pogba primarily play through the middle. So they send our players out wide. We go to the right-hand side. We're always a player missing from a creative point of view out there because all our right-hand-sided players want to get into the box and score. We have nobody that can be is as creative on the right as is creative on the left. So we're often sending everything to the left-hand side. It makes it easier to defend. Teams will set up a shape and they will set up their press and they will set up their mid and low blocks to push us towards that left-hand side because it becomes predictable. You can wear our attacking players out a lot faster and a lot quicker by doing that. I'm not too sure if it differentiates between home and away. I mean, if you look at that, it literally stays the same. Whether we're home or away, we attack identical. In terms of opposition third, like it also shows as well, we pretty much do the same level of attack, 44% and 43% of the ball in the middle. We have a few more attacks against us when we're away from home. But we're a pretty even side in relation to that. We just need to fix that right-hand side. And I know that CDM is important. I know people want new centre-backs. But for me, genuinely, that right-hand side of Man United's attack has been a problem area for years now and needs to be addressed. There's no doubt about it. The devil's advocate here of another super chat says, my only issue with signing Sancho is that 80 million that could be spent in positions we need more centre-back and CDM. I hear you. But honestly, I think getting more balance in our attack will fix a lot of problems in our team. If we're primarily attacking down the left-hand side, we're going to be primarily counter-attacked from one side of the pitch. If we're predictable in our attacking play, we become easier to read, which again makes it easy to circumvent the CDMs that we've got. The more predictable you are, the more prescribed you are, the more you have a system which it's easier for everybody to read, the easier it is to beat, score against, and take points away from Manchester United. Now, we've improved our system to a stage where, 10, 12 points better off now than we were this time last season. So it shows the growth within that team. Balance is the next stage for Manchester United, in my opinion. Balance is the most important key component to come up next for Manchester United in our attacks. That makes it easier for our system to work. The problem that we have in some games where our system isn't working is we have to push everything to the left-hand side, and it makes it easy, like I say, especially against a low block team. If we can start moving that ball out to that right-hand side more, we have to move it quickly and spread that play. It will open teams up. There's no denying that whenever, I don't think it's his best position, but whenever Greenwood's having a good game on the right-hand side, we tend to win. And partly that's Greenwood being a very good player, but equally we're able to spread that play and we're able to balance it. As soon as we become too prescribed to the left-hand side, it falls apart. Costa here again says, I'm off into town. I just want to say quickly, if Sancho is there, get him. at a cut price. It's like as the rollover week, so cheap right now. And I think that's another element that's true. It's such a cheap time to buy him. Somebody here says, what about Diallo? Competition, bro. Competition. I feel like with Sancho, there's two things. Sancho can play left and he can play on the right-hand side. This puts massive pressure on Anthony Martial and massive pressure on Marcus Rashford. I don't want Rashford or Martial to feel safe, comfortable, secure. I don't want them being spoon-fed, plumped up, and made fat. Not literally, I'm talking about in terms of attitude or comfortability. They need to know at any moment at Manchester United, you can be replaced. They need to know that if they drop out of form, like Rashford's got a few good goal contributions recently. There is no denying that. Scored against Southampton. He set up the winning goal in the FA Cup game as an example. He scored. He put the cross in for the winning goal against Burnley. Scored and created goals in the FA Cup wins over Liverpool. He's been working hard, but his overall performances haven't been great recently. Martial's had a really poor season by his standards, and I think for me, Diallo's involvement and bringing in Jadon Sancho, it just gives us options. Right now, they're not very. If we to drop both Rashford and Martial right now for being in bad form, who we got? Dan James. It's crazy. We need that strength in depth. And if it means Martial misses out, if it means Rashford misses out, I don't care. I really don't. I think Diallo and Sancho both coming in, it gives us cover on the right-hand side within itself, but it also creates a situation where these players can play left or right, but their strength is on the right. What we have with Martial and Rashford is they can go to the right, but they're strong on the left. This gives us versatility. This gives us options, but it gives us competition for places. And that, for me, is the most beautiful thing. The cream will always rise to the crop, and it makes Man United better. Then what you do is become cutthroat. Then it's a case of, do you know what? We've had a year of all of you here. Joe Bloggs hasn't cut it. You've gone backwards. You've regressed. You haven't responded to the competition. You are the weakest link. Goodbye to an extent, and you move that individual on. That's the most important thing to do here, as far as I'm concerned. That for me is it in a nutshell. Terry, what do you think Ollie has done on the coaching side to improve United? I mean, it's a real interesting question that you pose there. So I look at it along the lines of, they've been improved players. At Man United, overall, since he's been here, Luke Shaw has gone to new levels. Do I think that's to do with coaching? No, it's to do with man management. It's to do with bringing Alex Telles in, who's a very good player, and it's given Luke Shaw that competition. Since Luke Shaw's been here prior to this year, there's been nobody that's come in at left back who's really been that good. We now need to do that on the right-hand side, by the way, to keep pushing Aaron Wan-Bissaka to that next level. The improvements in Scott McTominay have been exemplary. The improvements to Rashford have been amazing. There's still work to be done here, as an example. Man United do have a system of play. This has been described many, many times on here in terms of what we try to do, the shapes and positions that we take up when we're in attack. What Man United were lacking is quality players in the positions to create the consistency within the system. And you see that all the time. Look how many chances this year Martial's missed. And I'm not singling him out here because I love Anthony Martial. He's an example I'm giving. He's got a 7% conversion rate this year. But he's had the same amount of shots as he did last year. Which tells you the system is creating the opportunities. He is just not putting them away. If you look at and this is the thing with football, there doesn't need to be some mastermind investigation. It's about individuals. Man United defensive problem this year is because of a lack of leadership at the back. It isn't that our defenders don't have defensive qualities. It's people not orchestrating. If we don't have a leader there making sure people are in the exact right and the exact positions that they need to be in, that's the issue. So for me, it's more about personnel now and mindset and creating the mentality than it is a system and tactics. Too much time is spent focusing on the systems and tactics when actually football's a fairly simplistic game, but you just need people to bring it together. And I'm looking here so far this season. So this is an interesting thing to look at statistically. So from an attacking point of view, this season, we averaged per game 32 positional attacks and 23% of them result in a shot. We averaged 3.4 counter-attacks per game with 40% of them ending up in a shot. We cross the ball on average 13 times per game, with 28% of them finding their targets. If we go back to last season as an example, positional attacks resulting in shots, 33, but only 21% ended up in shots. Counter-attacks, identical, but only 35 in terms of per game, but only 35% resulted in shots. Crosses last season, 13%, 13 crosses per game, but only a 20% accuracy. This is the point I would say to people, is that the only real difference this year is a number of our attacking players, when the ball's fallen to their feet in these attacking positions, they haven't finished. Defensively, there would definitely be mishaps. That cannot be denied. And this is the biggest one out. Like, shots against per game last season was at 9. This season is at 10. So we concede an extra, 1.5 actually. It's 1.5 increase per game shots on our goal. This season we've won 57% of our defensive duels, where last year we won 60%. Last year we won 52% of our aerial duels. This season, just 50%. That's where the regression has been. But I think that's about organization of our players. And equally, we've put ourselves into a different position this year. It's a mentality thing. So we've put ourselves into a position this year where we could challenge for a title, and then there's been the regression. When we were on the rise to putting ourselves in that position, statistically, we were better than we were last year. Performance-wise, we were, oh, wow, look at this. 3-4 wins on the bounce, holding strong, coming from behind, showing great mentality. We then got to a point where, your challenges now, bottle went. That, for me, is what needs to be fixed. Some of that can be coached. Some of that can be man-managed in. But the most important element from this stage moving forward is personnel. We need more Bruno Fernandes's, more Paul Pogba's, more Cavani's. Not literally their positions, in case anyone gets twisted. We're going to share the link in a minute. If you want to phone up, if you want to come and have your say, we're going to put it in the comments section. Man like Danny Devil in the details is here as well. System, but no style. Listen, the style argument for me is a madness. Like, the problem is with the style argument is when you really break down what people are saying, it becomes about preference. And when it becomes about preference, you're never going to get a consensus. You could sack Oli today and bring in Allegri. There'd be a new group of fans happy, and there'd be a new group of fans upset because their preference hasn't been met. You could bring in Nagelsmann. I'd be very happy. A lot of the eye test merchants would be happy because the football would look better. But would we win as many games? I don't know. I mean, we don't know. There are so many different scenarios. Where we would all be happy is if the football looked better and we won more football matches. The problem is there's no guarantees a change of manager is going to initiate in the medium to long term that type of change. So unless we end up in the utopia where it clicks and works, we're always going to be back in this scenario now where we're at. The problem we have as a club is that we're very reluctant as a collective fan base or as a majority fan base to enable a manager to see his plan through to fruition. If you brought in Allegri or you brought in Julian Nagelsmann, they both play a very different style of football, and they may actually want to overhaul 80% of this squad to make their system work. To do that with the Woodward and Glazer ownership and the board we have, that could take 2 to 3 summers. That means you're going to have to be patient for 2 to 3 summers to see the fruits of that labor. There isn't going to be a mass overhaul 2 seasons making it work. It just isn't going to happen. This would be my question to everybody that wants Ollie out. If you want Ollie out and you get within reason the manager you want, are you prepared to say 3 years minimum until I start to overtly judge? So start to talk about sacking, not working, moving on. You can judge individual performances, say what needs to improve, but still have faith in the manager. Our biggest problem as a club is we do not stay on the same path long enough to actually bring anything to life. And the proof's in the pudding here. We stood through 2 periods of adversity with Ollie, and we are now in the best position that we've been in, league-wise, position-wise, and squad-wise, in my opinion, for 8 years. Is it a perfect season? Nobody's claiming it to be. Absolutely not, because I still think there should be an improvement made in the managerial areas. But I think you need to set the precedent within the club that we're going to give managers time. We need to let players know that, you drop bad performances, it's you that's going to go, not the manager. That needs to be set in stone at this football club. And until we start to do that, chopping and changing managers, overhauling players just isn't going to work. Just isn't going to work. Glory hunting, Glazer agents out. Listen, I hear you on that, bro. Danny Devlin here says, Ollie in. He ain't messing around. Don't give up. 21 is coming. Listen, Jerry, my boy, I'm relaxed about it. The whole 21 coming thing isn't even a thing for me, bro. Do me a favor, everyone that's tuning in, smash that like button right about now. I love reading some of the comments that come through here. Russell hasn't called in for a while, bro. Ever since we stopped them in Skype calls, certain man, Z doesn't call in no more. Russell doesn't call in no more. There's another guy's name where I now forget. Great caller, used to go on the mornings. None of these guys don't use it. Man like Ram in the comment section, what you doing, bro? Bruno loses the ball around 15 to 25 times per game. He does. Is that normal for highly functioning attacking players? Is that normal? That would be my question to you. Is that normal for highly functioning attacking players? That's the question that I want to pose to people. I want to know, and I'm asking that genuinely. Is that normal? And the question is, some people might say yes, some people might say no. I want your thoughts. I want your thoughts on that. I really, really do. I want your thoughts. Per 90 minutes, how often people are losing possession. Highly creative players. So name players to me that are highly creative, and then we can work this out, can't we? Then we can work it out, and then we look at the general output. So let's have a look at that, and then see how that kind of stems. Name me some players, and we'll go through it, and we'll do the comparison. Do I enjoy watching United? That's a trick question for me. No matter who the manager is, no matter how good the football is, even when we're 3-0 up, I'm nervous. I don't enjoy Man United games from a footballing perspective. It's why I don't think I care too much about what the football looks like. I don't watch Man United for entertainment. I watch Man United because they're my team and I want them to win. I watch other teams for entertainment. For me, of course, I want the most beautiful football and to win every game. It's a prerequisite. It's a silly thing to suggest I don't want. But if somebody said win the league, boring football, or come second with the best football in the world, I'd pick boring football in the league because winning counts. Name me some players that are highly creative. We're going to put them up. Coutinho never lost the ball that much. Well, do you know when though, Ray? Tell me what season. Yeah, we'll add Grealish to this mix as well. We'll add Grealish to the mix. We'll add Grealish in here as an example. Jackie Grealish in. Yeah, he's very good actually. And who else? We'll add one more player. We've added Grealish to it. We're not going to add Van der Beek in. Ziyech. Ziyech is a good example here. So I'll take out him and I'm going to put in Hakim Ziyech. That's not how you spell his name. And let's have a little look at this. So I've got KDB in there, Jadon Sancho in there, Bruno in there. I'm waiting for these names to load. Hakim Ziyech, there it is. I mean, it's... So I've got on there Sancho, KDB, Bruno, Grealish, Hakim Ziyech. That's who we've put in here, right? Let's have a look at it. I mean, it just goes to... I mean, this in itself just literally is amazing to read. But do me a favor, before I put it up, let's get to 250 likes while we're live, please, and then we'll do it. Someone said Maddison. We can add Maddison in a few moments. I'm going to share this. Shall I share the screen? This is amazing to see. This is amazing to see. So this is loss of possession. I'm going to put this up onto the screen now. I want to make sure I've got this at the right size so it's zoomed in correct, so that it looks at presentation-wise the best. Oh, look at that. That's lovely. Boom, boom. There we go. So if you look at loss of possession, Sancho 22 times per game, De Bruyne 20 times, Bruno 22 times, Grealish kills it on 15 times per game, Hakim Ziyech 23 times per match. So if you actually look at that, highly functioning, highly creative players are losing the ball in and around the same rates. Goals per game, though, Bruno Fernandes absolutely destroying what these individuals are doing. My point to everybody is that Bruno Fernandes' loss of possession is not abnormal for highly functioning, highly creative players. It simply isn't. And you'll always find exceptions to the rule, Jack Grealish being one of them. But also Jack Grealish, what would be an interesting statistic to add into this, and we'll do it now, is shots per game here, because that's something that always needs to be looked at. One of the reasons you often see, Bruno Fernandes have, you'll often see Bruno Fernandes lose the ball more is because he's shooting more per game as well, right? As an example. So what I've added to this now, let me just move this back down again so we can see all of those statistics in there. We'll put this back on the screen. Is you've added shots. So, his shots are at 2 point. A lot of people think he shoots too much in matches. He actually shoots less than KDB as an example. But you see against Jack Grealish, he's shooting less. He's shooting less. But look at the conversion rate there. I mean, Jack Grealish, to be fair, should shoot more. His conversion rate's been amazing this season, but he isn't But maybe that will reduce if he shot more. We don't know. That would be the answer. But this is why I say to people, these are some of the best creative players in Europe. There's nothing negative about Bruno Fernandes, which is overtly abnormal. There's nothing about him that's overtly abnormal like people try to claim all the time. People throw this out. People are always throwing this out. They always say, oh, yeah, he ain't as good at this. He ain't as good at that. He doesn't do this. He doesn't do that. And for me, I sort of feel like you're being well over the top here. You're being absolutely well over the top in relation to this. I would probably say, and I'll go and check it out now, pass completion would be the only thing where he's behind these individuals. But what's important to look at is, when it comes to passes, is the amount attempted. So, I mean, yeah, look at that. So that's really interesting. That's really interesting reading when you put this up here. He attempts more passes, but his pass completion rate is lower. But look at the difference in percentages. It's 4 to 5%. Again, Jackie Grealish killing it there with 83%. There's no doubt. But what you would probably find with a Jack Grealish, if you swap Jack Grealish now for Bruno, you'd maintain. You would, in my view, you would maintain the creativity, but you would lose the volume of goals. Would anybody else be able to step up into the void and score those goals? Maybe. But there isn't a fundamentally huge deal of difference, right, in terms of passes being completed. And to raise his game, Bruno Fernandes, in a match, statistically, when it comes to his passes, so he's doing 60 per game minus 77%. So he's misplacing about 17 of them, right? Let's look here at the best, Jack Grealish. If we do 41 minus 83%. Sorry, no, I did that wrong. Let me do that. I'm completely wrong in my maths there. Sorry, minus 77%. So it's around 13 passes per game that Bruno Fernandes on average misplaces, as an example. KDB, it's going to be minus 81%. It's 10 passes per game. So KDB and Bruno, as an example, you're talking about 3 passes. You're talking a difference of 3 passes per game more that Bruno Fernandes loses. The question is, are you prepared? The balance is this. Would you rather 3 additional passes per game or more accurate, but you might lose the goals that he brings, which is superior? Look at the conversion rate. Look at the conversion rate compared to the Sanchos, the KDB. I mean, KDB's this season, his conversion rate is 7%. It's woeful. So yeah, for me, it's the arguments people throw at Bruno as a negative just don't outweigh the vast majority. He's there or thereabouts on most things. Even his weaknesses that people point out are just almost on par with everybody else. There's no doubt about that. A lot of people are asking about Declan Rice news. Yes, a few rumors and murmurs have been going on for a few months now about Declan Rice. I saw something through the United Muppeteers where they claim that Man United are looking to open talks for Declan Rice in the summer for a CDM role. And I suppose I wanted to ask you, the viewers, the question about Declan Rice. Would you want him at the club? Does he fit the Man United profile? Would he improve our midfield? And if so, if he was to come in, who comes out? Who drops out of the double pivot? Because I don't think the double pivot is going to go anywhere. It's just simply that. Stats don't show you context. Oh, eye test. But you come on here the other day and we're throwing stats out. So what are you talking about? I'm going to share the link for you guys to come on and have your say. Name me some other creative players that you want me to see. Someone said Bazuma is better. I love Bazuma. I think he's class, mate. I think he looks brilliant in my opinion. Declan Rice, 100% is what Kevin says. Mo says facts eye test. Then eye test, never come on here again with stats. Because you said Bruno loses the ball too much. Well, what about the context as to why he's losing the ball? Where does he lose the ball? I actually believe he's losing the ball on the vast majority of times trying to thread the eye of the needle. You saw when he came in against West Ham the other day, one of the first things he did was touch the ball, turn, look at goal, and then out edge of the boot, play the ball to the right-hand side. Sometimes those quick flick passes don't come off and he loses them. But when they do open teams up, it invariably leads to an opportunity. Also, name for me some other goals win you games, more accurate passes don't. Again, there's a balance there, in my opinion. Some definitely do. But like I say, a lot of the stats people throw out there about Bruno Fernandes and as to why he's terrible or why he's overrated, how does it actually stack up contextually and in comparison to his peers? That's where the work gets done. Hudson-Odoi and Greenwood. Okay, do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to remove Sancho from this list, and I'm going to remove Hakim Ziyech, and I'm going to add in the two you've mentioned. So let's put in Callum Hudson-Odoi. We'll put this in as an example, and I'm going to open up the. What doesn't it come? This thing really annoys me sometimes. It should be when you put the word Callum in, it should be the first name that comes up is Hudson-Odoi. Why would it not? And then the other player you mentioned was Mason Greenwood. Right, we'll do this together now while we're on the air. Do me a favor and keep smashing that like button, though, people, and subscribe to the Football Terrace. Wow, Mason Greenwood's conversion rate this year is awful. Hudson is very, very good. We are looking at his wingers with these two, though, so you can't really compare them too much to the number 10. But from a winger point of view, amazing. Let's put this up on the screen here. Hudson-Odoi this year, you can see. I'm just going to move that down a little bit. You look at that there from Hudson-Odoi. Only loses possession on average 13 times per games. Conversion rate of chance of shots that he actually has 33%. Assists per game 0.3. Chances. This is per 90 minutes. Chances created 7.2. Passes attempted around 50 with an 87% passing accuracy. That's amazing from Hudson-Odoi. There's no doubt about that. More of a wide player. Mason Greenwood, it really hasn't been statistically a good season for him. That needs to improve, Matt. The 5% conversion rate on shots is poor. The chances created needs to get better. Passing accuracy, though, very, very good. But the point I would say to you now, this is the point I made about statistics and context, right? Would you be happy for that pass completion rate of Mason Greenwood to be 10% worse, but for his chance created to be two a game more, and for his shot conversion rate to be 30%? See, you've got to sometimes. Would you be happy? Forget all that. Would you be happy for Mason Greenwood to lose the ball 10 more times per game, but to have a 20% better conversion rate and to create 2 more chances per match because he's taking higher risks? That, for me, is the difference when it comes to that. A few of you are asking for Mason. Let's think about 10s as well. Do you know what we'll do? We'll take out Hudson-Odoi and Mason. We'll throw in Saka. We'll throw in Saka to this mix. More of a wide player than a 10, but we'll throw in Saka into this. And we'll also throw in Mason Mount as well. This is going to be an interesting one. We'll throw in Mason Mount here, see how he stacks up. It's pretty damn good, you know. Pretty damn good with both these players. Let's go into this one here and put it up. You can see there, Mason Mount, 14 times per game, loses the ball less than a lot of these other players. Conversion rate very low, though, at 9%. Chance creation, good. Passes attempted, high pass completion rate for him as well. Very good statistical output there from Mason Mount. Saka, I'm surprised Saka isn't creating more chances, you know. He just appears like he creates more in games. But there we go. There we go. But just 0.2. Remember here, when we're looking at the KDBs and the Brunos, a much higher assist rate and chance creation rate per game. So you look at someone like Saka. If Saka was trying to attempt to create more chances, you'd probably see his loss of possession dip a little bit more. But Mason Mount there, statistically, very, very good indeed. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. But equally, the high-functioning players still tend to have a higher possession loss rate than others, which is an interesting one. Jason here says, I'm curious what Thiago at Liverpool versus King Bruno's is. Look, I can put it up on the screen. I mean, it's a real interesting one because Thiago plays a much deeper role. So I don't know what we're going to find when looking at this, if I'm being honest. And there's so many Thiagos. Where's the right one? Is this the right guy? Nope, wrong Thiago. Squawker's thing isn't that great anymore. It used to be really, really good. You'd be able to put in, like, it put up the most popular people first. Thiago. Oh, it might just be the first one because there's no one more famous than him that plays that role. Why would they have everybody else in front of him? Alcantara. See if that helps. Ah, here we go. I found him. I mean, yeah. See, this is again, it's a way. I mean, he's playing deeper. So you can see loss of possession only 13 times per game, but no goals, no shots, 0% conversion rate, no assists created, 1.4 chances created per game, 90 his pass completion rate is higher. But this would be my point to Liverpool fans. Would you be happy for that pass completion rate to be 10% worse? Would you be happy for the loss of possession to be 18, 19, 20, but for him to actually be scoring and or creating chances? I think the cold fan, I think in reality, the answer would be yes. Terry, opponents they face has to be a factor, right? Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course it does. You have to look at who people have faced. And per 90 minutes is an interesting one because for Callum Hudson-Odoi, you're looking at a much smaller pool of data because he hasn't played as many games. So his per 90 could be higher if he's been through a real... Like if you only play 5 games and you're on a purple patch in those 5 games, your per 90 minutes is going to be better than someone that's played 23 games this season across everybody and gone through good and bad times. So really and truly, you assess it at the end of the season, and you have to look at it. There's always context to put to it, which is why the initial people I featured, the Sanchos, the KDBs, etc., are worthwhile looking and comparing against Bruno. And of course, Bruno statistically isn't going to outmatch everybody. Nobody's claiming that for a single second. It's more about saying some of the elements are labeled at him. Other great players have those same problems too, but yet no one talks about it. That's the bit that really stands out to me above anything. A few people are asking for James Maddison. We'll do that, and then we're going to open up the line for you to come and have your say. Make sure you're smashing the like button. Also, sign up to our Discord server as well, people. Make sure you subscribe to the Football Terrace. James Maddison here. I mean, yeah, good. Good again from him. 17 times per game he loses possession. 0.4 goals. Conversion rate only 18%. So a lot of people see James Maddison shoot and think he is such an amazing shot. I mean, conversion-wise, it's good, but could be better. Assist per game, 0.4. Chances created, 2.5. Passes attempted around 41 per game, 82% accuracy, which is decent. I mean, again, that means if we look at it from this point of view, 41 minus 82%, that's 7 to 8 passes per game that go astray, which is pretty decent. So when you look at Bruno Fernandes, like literally, I think for me, if it, I mean, this is how easy it is to manipulate though. All he has to do is play an extra 5 or 6 passes in a game, short ones that are accurate, and he can boost that stat up, by the way. The thing for me is, I've always said this about Bruno, there are flaws. Every single player has flaws. The point is, would you change any of them? Legitimately, would you go out your way to change any of them? And if so, why? For me. Twisted here says, which player gains their team the most points? Oh, I don't know if that's a statistic they provide here. So I don't know. That's something you have to go out away and research, and I'd have to have a look. I mean, I would be very positive in saying that one of the highest people on there is going to end up being Bruno Fernandes, KDB. These guys are so it's the clutch moments as well with these individuals that would stand out to me. A few people are asking for Joshua Kimmich. I bet he barely loses the ball. 16 times per game. Very, very good. It's hard though in the German league though when you look at it, because their league is just very different to that over here. The single high league functioning Premier League player, the Kimmich is really good, really, really good. I'll put it up on the screen so you can all see. Kimmich is really, really good. 16.5 times per game. Conversion rate's low, and that's it. But it's always the balance, isn't it? So chance created, very, very good indeed. Pass accuracy, amazing. But you'd think as well, for all that pass accuracy, he's not really creating overtly many more chances in Bruno Fernandes, as an example, which tells you if Bruno Fernandes' passing can be improved and worked on, or maybe a little bit better decision-making in certain areas, he's going to become an even better player. But one thing that just stands out, again, the conversion rate, the goals, just phenomenal. There's no doubt about it. Phil Foden, that's a really good option. Phil Foden's a really good shout. Let me share the link first for people to come on and have their say and call in. It's going to go into the comment section now, but make sure you're smashing that like button, people. Very important that you do that for us right about now. Don't forget to get it done and subscribe to the Football Terrace. Sign up to the Discord server. Let's have a little look here at Phil Foden as well. Phil Foden's going to be high, I'd say. Like, really good. Not bad. Not bad at all. You see here, possession lost just 13 times per game. Passing accuracy, 87%. Conversion rate's really high there, as you can see at 27% of his shots that go in. Assists, though, just 0.3 per game. Chances created at 2. So, yeah, really good. But that's where you weigh up the balance, isn't it? So you look at it and go, if he was attempting more opportunities to create chances and losing the ball more, the possession lot stat would become higher. Like I've said, though, generally speaking, the higher functioning creators lose the ball more. It's just, you can see it. You can just see it more there. There's no doubt about it. And they all have their flaws and they all have their benefits. But there really isn't a gaping difference across all metrics amongst these players. Like I say, that's always my problem when it comes to a lot of the statistical breakdowns. You end up in a situation where you said there just isn't a huge fundamental difference in what goes on. There just isn't. Let me just sort this out here. Sorry, peeps. In relation to that. Sorry, peeps. Just click on a few bits there. Let's jump into some of your calls now, people. We did Kai Havertz earlier. He was already on there. Terry, what's a football hipster? Football hipster is just someone that I don't want to say doesn't understand football. My biggest bugbear with football hipsters is they overcomplicate the game. They overcomplicate the game. They really, really do. Let's take some of your calls now. First up, we're going to have Fixer on the line. Fixer, welcome to the Football Terrace. What do you want to say?
Hello, Terry. Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect, bro. What do you want to say?
Basically, like I said a few weeks ago, I think United have to walk away from this Jadon Sancho thing unless we let Anthony Martial go. Because first of all, we need to address the main issue. We're scoring goals, but our defense is awful. We need to get a proper centre back, like someone we can rely on. I mean, there's just too much evidence that our defense is just horrible. Like we keep throwing away games, and we need to identify that. So I was thinking, if we're gonna get a solid defender, we have to pay at least 50 million minimum. And there's no way we're gonna pay that and then pay like 70, 80 million on top for Jadon Sancho. I don't see that happening. Also, we need a center defensive midfield as well. So I'm thinking the only way we can get Sancho is if we sell Martial and then replace him with Sancho, like as a direct replacement, and then we can still have some money to get the defender. We might not even still be able to get a center defensive midfielder, except Pogba leaves or something. But I think Sancho should only be looked at if we can sort out those. And also a forward. We need a forward as well. So we just have way too many, positions to fill in first. I think the chance to sign Sancho has passed. I think we should just accept that. Except we can let go of Anthony Martial and then replace him directly with Sancho. That way, the financial burden is not too much on the club, and we're replacing Martial with somebody who I think is actually better. So,
yeah. You know what I think? Listen, I hear where you're coming from. I kind of look at it from the other way. I think the most important thing for us to do is to bring balance. We're an attacking team, generally speaking. So I think we need to apply balance to our attack first, and we defend from the front that way. So we have better balance with better players from the attacking angles. I then feel a centre back. So I would go, if we're just going to name positions, the right-hand side of attack, Jadon Sancho would be the first person I'd go for. Then I would tackle the centre back area in terms of having a leader in that role. Could end up being Rafael Varane, who knows? But like I would go for a leader in that role. And then the next position I would go for would be that kind of that defensive midfielder. I don't really see any reason why we can't get that all done in one summer. Paul Pogba is going to be a major part in this. If we do lose Paul Pogba this summer for whatever reason, him leaving is going to create that hold and create that opportunity. I also think if we can get the right guy in Ndidi, Basuma, Declan Rice, they could also, and even if Pogba stays, there could be the scope to, okay, Matic can now move on as an example. But if we were to sign Rafael, I was going to say, if we got a player with the defensive capabilities of Rafael Varane, if we got Jimenez in, if we signed, say, Declan Rice, Basuma, or Ndidi and Jadon Sancho, and we didn't lose too many players, I think that would just give us strength in the core, improve our depth dramatically, and put us in a really good position to sort of push on next season and try and create something brilliant. And that's what I would like to see done. Fixer, I really appreciate you coming on, mate, and having your say. Thank you very much indeed. Comment here from a man like Iatest who says, Terry, you overcomplicate the game with stats. It's a really good challenge, actually. I like that. I like that challenge into myself. My view is very much this. So I respect where you're coming from when you say that. My view is very, very simple indeed. I only really use stats to defend lies about players as a general rule. So I do think attacking players, your statistical outputs, as in chances created, goals scored, assists that you create, I think they're very, very important because that is your primary job to do that. There are lots of other elements of your game that are important. So for me, I like to focus on the statistics that are most important to the role that a player plays. So I don't think that's overcomplicating it. I think that's gaining facts. Where I really delve into stats is when I hear things like Joe Bloggs is a terrible decision maker, because I sort of feel like, where is your statistical evidence to prove that the person that we're speaking about is making bad decisions, is losing the ball too much, is over, the kind of the way we know Bruno loses. Bruno, I would like Bruno to lose the ball less. Let's not get that twisted. But the way it was first framed by social media is that, how can it be any good? Like, how often he loses the ball? Nobody else loses the ball like this. The amount of passes he loses per game is exponentially worse, dramatically worse than others. Like it was this big elephant in the room. And then you delve into it and you look at it statistically and go, nah, you're wrong. What happens is the mental trick. So what ends up happening is you focus on that. When Bruno misplaces a pass, the attention is absolutely massive. If Rashford messes up, do you know what I mean? Do you know what's really interesting when you look at this? I just put Rashford stuff up on here as well, right? Marcus Rashford statistically, chances created is probably the only thing I'd want to see him improve on in the Premier League this year. But he only loses the ball like 14 times per game. Only loses the ball like 14 times per game. But yet people make out like he loses possession more than anybody else. So he actually loses possession less per game than Jack Grealish. But you wouldn't know that, because the general consensus is he loses the ball too much, he makes the wrong decisions too much. But if he's making the wrong decisions so much more than his counterparts, why is he not losing the ball exponentially more than everybody else? It doesn't make sense. It's just one of those things for me. Now, he's more of a goal scorer than he is a creator. But if you start putting him in there against other creators, it's when you start doing like for likes against players that play in his position, but also that maybe score at the level that he does, or are there more for the scoring side of things rather than than anything else. If you sort of look at it and think to yourselves, so this is a great example here. I've put up on this board Raheem Sterling, Anthony Martial, Rashford. Look at it. Martial does lose the ball less per game, 12 times. Raheem Sterling in the Pep Guardiola system, 14. Rashford, 14. Goals per game, pretty average this year between them in the Premier League. Shot conversion rate, Martial's actually improved in recent weeks. Literally, that's been the difference this year between these players, is the conversion rate of the chances. Assist levels, identical. Chances created, look at them, and almost on par with each other. And that's why if you compare a Rashford with a Mahrez, who's more of a creator, you're going to get a difference. So you have to do like for like. Passes attempted per game, passing accuracy, all much of a muchness. So when people tell me Marcus Rashford is a dumb footballer, do the comparison with people that are similar to him, that play like him. Let's add a few more players into this, right? Who else would you want me to add into this mix here? Goal scoring inside forwards. Let's throw in Gnabry. A lot of people like to compare him to Gnabry as an example. Let's do Serge Gnabry. And give me another Premier League guy. And actually, no, we'll keep Premier League. We'll do Mane. We'll throw Mane into this mix. Throw Mane in for a bubble, and we'll throw in the best guy in the league, Salah. They're more your scorers than your creators. Let's throw in Mohamed Salah. Look at it. Just look at it. This is why statistics are important here. Loss of possession per game, goals per game, all very literally. The conversion rate of Mo Salah has been amazing this year, but Rashford, by the way, is on 20%. Assists per game. Rashford actually is leading the way, along with Martial and their chances created per game is almost the same. Passes attempted per game is almost the same. Passing accuracy per game is almost the same. Like I keep saying to people, the reason that I go to stats is to disprove the lies. If Marcus Rashford is making poor decisions on an uneven keel, if he's making poor decisions 2 times, 3 times, 4 times more per game than his peers that play similar positions and have similar roles in teams, then why are the statistical outputs almost identical? Almost identical. Because it's in your heads. It is absolutely in your heads that Marcus Rashford is a terrible decision maker within football. It is a thing. It was a phrase. It was an opinion given out on social media once that has caught fire and spread. So every time he plays the wrong pass or his attempt on goal doesn't come off, bad decision making, he does it too often. There's no factual evidence that proves that he's doing it more often. That's some of the best players in the league, some of the best players in the world. There. It's all bullshit. It's all BS. It's all BS. If he was making bad decisions to a larger scale than those players, as an example, he'd be losing the ball more, wouldn't he? He'd be creating less. He'd be scoring more. The only opposite, the only thing that makes you right is that he's getting more opportunities to create, to shoot, to score, to pass, because our system is superior. Imagine that. No system, no style, just freestyle football with a bad decision-making footballer, but yet factually, he's on par with all these peers in the Premier League. On par with these peers in the Premier League. There's nothing you're saying that makes any sense whatsoever. It's a myth. It's a myth that Rashford's decision-making is worse than other players to grand proportions. And it is a myth that Bruno Fernandes's flaws are dramatically worse than other players' flaws. It's all a myth created on social media. Absolute cast iron facts. A few people here saying Mane's having a bad season. Oh, he's having a bad season. But a lot of people are saying Rashford and Martial and Rashford are not having good seasons according to everybody else as well. Context. I mean, what we could just do is go back to last season. And we'll go back to last year then. Well, I'm going to change everybody back to last season. That's a League Cup tale. Let's find a Premier League last year. Sorry, I lost it. There it is. I'm just changing them all now, one by one, to the Premier League last season to see how it all changes. And let's see if last season it's dramatically different. Bit nervous doing this because you never know what you're going to get. See, do you want to see the real difference? Do you want to see the real difference? Last year, that was last season. Martial last year was excellent. Only 11 times per game losing the ball. Look at their goals per 90 minutes. Look at their conversion rates last year. Rashford, by the way, has had a slight reduction in conversion rate. That's one area. But then last year, Mo Salah was only at 20%. Assists on par with each other. Chances created per game on par with each other. Passes attempted. It's almost like they play the same bloody position. Passing accuracy. I mean, what's the real difference? There's 5% difference between the worst there's a 4, 5, 6% difference between the best and last. And by the way, they're passing about the same, right? So if you look at last season, this is the difference. The best guy there, Raheem Sterling, 39 passes per game, minus 82%. means he's misplacing 7 passes per match. The worst, percentage-wise, is Mo Salah, right? Who was misplacing 6. There is literally 1 pass! Stop with the nonsense. Stop with the nonsense. Stop with the nonsense. It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. The lies that are said on social media about these players. There is no huge difference. Like I say, all these players have their flaws. All these players have their flaws. But when I see these lies, he's always making bad decisions. Show me the facts. I don't want you to show me the video clips where you think he's made a bad decision. I want you to show me how he's making them on a grander scale to others. And the reason I say this, we've got to get someone better. Who? I'll just put like 3 to 4 of the best alternatives to Rashford in his position. By the way, Raheem Sterling and Mane and Salah are playing for better managers in better systems. And yet they lose the ball as much as Rashford. Think about it. It's so crazy. I didn't even plan to do this on this stream. I didn't need to research it because I know, because I have the real eye test. I can see that Rashford's mistakes, some of them are bad. But I see every game that other players do the same thing. The same thing. Oh, the devil's advocate says stats and outputs are currency of football. Just because you see a guy in flashy designer clothes doesn't necessarily mean he's loaded. This is very, very true. It's a really good analogy there. I totally get you on that. I absolutely get you on that. I really, really do. Terry, your stats are highlighting United's defensive frailties. This season, we know United have got defensive frailties this season because they've conceded more opportunities on goal, more shots on goal than we did last year. So we know this. We're losing less of our defensive battles. Stop comparing statistical data with decision-making. Decision-making is not a stat. It's opinionated. If Rashford was making the wrong decisions... So, okay, 2 things. It can't be opinionated. You can't say Rashford's made the wrong decision because you don't think he should have played that pass. That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. That literally means that you could say anything in the world. You can, actually. You can say anything in the world is rubbish. But it doesn't mean you're right. I don't like opera, but I know it's not rubbish because of the amount of people that rate it, because of the amount of records that it sells, the amount of people that go to watch it. It can't be rubbish. Some people might not like rap. Can't say rap is rubbish, though, with the global audience that it has, the billion-pound industry that it's created for itself, that's been created. It's not rubbish, though, is it? You not liking it doesn't make it rubbish. That's the point. You thinking Rashford's a bad decision maker doesn't make it so. Your opinion is not worth more than facts. If Rashford was making exponentially more bad decisions than his peers, the statistics would show this. He would score less goals dramatically, create less chances dramatically, lose the ball more often dramatically. It would be nigh on impossible. Nigh on impossible for him to be on par with these players. In fact, not nigh on impossible, it would be categorically impossible. What happens with Marcus Rashford is very clear and is very, very simple. Every time his attempt, his cross, his through ball, his pass, his shot, his dribble, when it doesn't work, it's bad decision-making, shouldn't have done it. Your logic means Rashford should never attempt anything. Because whatever doesn't come off, you put down to bad decision-making. And this is why your opinion isn't even, in my eyes, a true opinion. It's a subjective emotion. You're living in your emotions. It's a subjective emotion. Because others are losing the ball, failing in dribbles, failing with passes, failing with chances created, and missing opportunities on goal in and around the same degree as him. But yet none of you are putting that down to decision-making. It's just, oh, unlucky, nearly come off, keep going. The only time your opinion really stands up in football is when you treat every single player equally and you take your emotions out of it. Marcus Rashford does make bad decisions. He is not making bad decisions to a larger scale and a larger degree than like-minded players. So roles are important. You've got to look at players that are in the team to score goals over being creative. The Manes, the Salahs, the Raheem Sterlings, the Anthony Martials. He just simply isn't doing it. Your opinions are not worth more than my facts. Period. Absolute period. Terry is a Rashford sexual, but it isn't just about Rashford. If I did this same thing, so Liverpool fans tuning in will remember this. I did the same thing when defending Mo Salah just 2 years ago. Everybody, he's too greedy, he's too this, he's too that, and then you fight the stats. Well, he's attempting as many passes as all of his kind of contemporaries. He's creating as many chances, but he's scoring more goals. It doesn't mean he's more greedy. He wasn't even taking more shots per game. Like people actually say Mo Salah's more greedy. Now I'm going to take a risk here and I'm going to put a stat out without knowing about it, right? Maybe I'm going to end up looking stupid here, right? Maybe I'm going to end up looking stupid here. Shots. So look, he does take more shots per game, but it isn't exponentially more. So last season, on average, he took 3 shots per game. Mane 2.2, Martial 2.1, Rashford 2.7, and Sterling 2.4. That's not dramatically more. If we were to change that over, I'm going to have to do this now and go to this season. One by one, we'll switch it. How many more shots? People make it sound like he's taking 10 shots per game. This season, again, more shots than everybody else, but only just behind Mane. If you look at him and Mane, the same amount of shots per 90 minutes. He just maybe stands out as being more greedy because he's scoring more goals. He attempts more passes per game than Mane. His passing accuracy is better than Mane. Chances created is on par with one another, really. But yet he gets called greedy. So I will use facts to debunk lies about football players. I always have, and I always will. Because I think it's unfair to label people with, he's greedy, or he has bad decision making, or he's shooting accuracy's poor, or Bruno loses the ball more than any other player in the league. Does he? Where's your context? As your eye test telling you that? Your eye test is telling you that because you're living in your emotions and you don't like the player. People that call Mo Salah greedy are emotional. People that say that Rashford's decision-making is the worst in the league are emotional because they don't like Rashford. People that put down Bruno for his loss of possession, but never mention it with KDB, have an agenda that is emotional, that is filled with emotion, that comes from a place of it's an agenda-filled emotional outpour because they don't like the player, or the player's being rated above someone they love, as opposed to just looking at it objectively and saying, okay, from an objective point of view, who plays well, who looks good, who entertains me. Now let's look at the numbers. All these players on ability are in the same ballpark. How you separate people in the same ballpark is the statistical outputs that they bring to the game. Facts. Facts don't care about your feelings. It's a simple, I don't even know where I heard that, but it's very, very true indeed. Listen, everyone who's tuned in today, thank you very, very much indeed. I really appreciate you all coming on. I know there's more of you waiting in the background to have your phone calls. I just don't have the time for that now today, but I really appreciate you all coming on. Make sure you're smashing that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Do Alexander Isak versus Haaland. So we do it for a bubble. Let's do it for a bubble. Let's do that for a bubble. Let's do Isak versus Haaland. I love that. How do you spell his name? I thought his name had 2 S's in it. I'm wrong. Yeah, I think it does. I can't find him though. I hang on a second. Do Alexander Isak. Why ain't it showing him? He ain't even on this list, bruv. It's annoying me. I found him, Isak. There we go. Do you know, I actually really say they don't even have a picture of him. I shouldn't laugh, but I can't help it. Let's see what they're saying. Let's have a look here. Hang on, let's have a little looky. His conversion rate's pretty good though, 23%. I mean, he ain't got bad statistics. It's not bad statistics per 90 minutes. It's pretty decent, to be fair. Like, he's still creating only 20 passes per game, though. But yeah, look at Haaland, bruv. Jeez Louise. The GOAT is here. People are stupid. It's not new. Andy Cole had some similar standard. No pens. Second all-time scorer. 127 assists. It's kind of, I get what you're saying there. Yeah, Andy Cole's another one. Needed. There's always the thing about Andy Cole. I remember the older generation saying around me when I was younger is he needed like 4 opportunities to score a goal. And I'm like, so he had a 25% shot conversion rate. Yeah, that's really good. Andy Cole was labeled with needing too many chances to score. What we didn't have then, what we have now is the ability to test that. Well, how many shots per game does someone need to score goals? Do you know what I mean? And just to give you an idea, like if you look at like Haaland's conversion rates of 50%, like I think Lewandowski's about 49% this year. That's really high. Have I got Haaland on Super Cup? Sorry. Let me change that. It's still, it still ain't that much better. There we go. That's in the league. Sorry. So conversion rate's even better. But there are a few passes. But look at the passing accuracy of Haaland. So that's what will happen here. So let me put this out there. Listen, the Isak thing there is pretty decent, actually, the loss of possession. But look at the passing. So this will happen if Haaland joins Man United. What you will see almost instantly is losing the ball too much, though. His passing accuracy isn't too great. Do you know what this does show you, though? His passing accuracy is at 70%. The losses of ball per game shows he doesn't lose the ball a lot holding the play up. Someone here says, do your stats account for the moment a pass should have been made instead of a shot being taken? Yes, loss of possession. If you have a shot, loss of possession is dispossessed, is misplaced pass, and is a shot or a cross where the ball ends up with the opponents. So if you do a cross that goes out for a throw-in for the opponents, you've lost possession. If you have a shot and the goalie catches it, or it's blocked and it goes to the opponents, it's a loss of possession. Or if it's blocked in general. So yeah, the loss of possession stat takes into consideration everything. So absolutely, bro. So if Rashford is shooting 3 times per game more than he should be when he should be passing, you then should see exponentially more losses of possession compared to his contemporaries. He doesn't. And nobody can explain to me why. And equally, like I said, that's your opinion that he should have passed when he should have shot. But you know what? You don't, like the amount of times you see great goals. It's like, if he didn't shoot, he wouldn't have scored them. Do you know what I mean? That free kick against Chelsea, if he hadn't shot and he went for the cross, he wouldn't have scored that great goal. If Bruno the other day hadn't have shot against Everton and he'd have crossed it from that position, we wouldn't have seen the great goal. There are times where you have to let people express themselves. What we moaned about under Jose is we don't let our players express themselves. Now it's don't let players express themselves. System. Idiots, brother. Idiots. Simple as that. Listen, do me a favor, smash the like button, hit the share button as well. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless.